I'm Kevin Coleman at @DuBois_22.
I'm Jeff Bell at For Whom J Bell Tolls.
And I am Christian Williams at C Williams NFL, and this is the Footballguys College Football Show.
And we are happy to bring this show to you guys. We've never done this before. We're first show on the channel, and we have we've been doing this ourselves, and they gave us this platform, and we're super happy with that. And so to start off the show, we're going to talk about what everybody's talking about. Quinn Ewers, man, is Texas back? And he's looked really good. Quinn Ewers at 648 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He absolutely crushed Oklahoma. Sorry, Sooner fans out there. You got your dreams and your hopes all crushed. If you hadn't already from the previous week. But they did this, and he had 289 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. We've talked about Quinn a lot on the show. Jeff, if you don't know, Jeff has a rivalry with Quinn Ewers because he transferred from his Ohio State Buckeyes. But they're doing okay with CJ. Jeff, what'd you see from Quinn, and how high do you have him ranked in college football?
Yeah, so he's my quarterback 1 in the 2023 class. He had in the 2024 class. He has been for throughout the whole time, and I haven't moved him regardless of Caleb Williams. So I've had him in that spot. I'm very, very high on him. He came in as one of the highest touted recruits, a 5-star recruit, one of the highest touted, I believe, since like Andrew Luck. Maybe he went back that far. Maybe it was Trevor Lawrence, but he's much valued. Sat out for a year at Ohio State. Really needed that year to develop because he jumped ahead, and he was supposed to be a high school senior when he was at Ohio State for his 1 year. And NIL kind of led that direction, but now he's fully in, and he's the right age he's supposed to be. His body development's there. He's showing everything. He's showing that accuracy, showing that arm that really brought in and put him in that position, showing that command of that offense. And Texas has been absolutely fantastic with him in. I saw a stat right before the show that they're averaging a point. I think it's like 4.3 points or something per drive, and Ohio State is number 1 in America, and it's like 4.1 for Ohio State. So Texas with Quinn Ewers has been the best offense in college football. Now, I don't know how that stat works with CJ Stroud as Ohio State's quarterback compared to other guys running the clock out, but that is right where they are, and that's where we've seen them produce throughout the season. Naturally came in right in this Oklahoma game. Obviously, the Red River rivalry. Obviously, Oklahoma's not what we would come to expect, and we've kind of talked about that if you followed our show previously. But I'm not the biggest Oklahoma fan in the world, and they have not showed up over the last 3 weeks. A 3-game losing streak, and their season is really looking lost. But Texas has to feel like they're back in it. They dropped the game against Texas Tech. Now, the thing with that game, though, is they really control their own destiny still in the Big 12 because Texas Tech is not going to be in the Big 12 championship game. So as they roll through and as they knock off other teams, they could be right there at the top, and that's the team to watch going forward.
Yeah, Quinn Ewers is the real deal. I think that a lot of people question that because of the Ohio State situation and whatnot. But I think when we're looking at the 2024 class now, we're looking at a class that looks better than the incoming class. So the 2023 guys with CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, those two, I think that they are going to be great quarterbacks. I think they're going to be starters at the NFL level. But Quinn Ewers and Caleb Williams both have those elite traits that you're looking for from a top 5 or top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I'm not saying that, Stroud or Young can't get there, but, projecting forward, I think that you're more comfortable now after what we've seen from Ewers, and it's been immediate. I mean, this was his 3rd career start, and he just looked fantastic. I mean, he's changing his arm angles. He's throwing across his body, rolling out to his left. That's stuff that, Josh Allen's doing that. Justin Herbert's not even doing that a whole lot in the NFL. So you're excited about what they can be. Now, I think Ewers still has some growth incoming. I think he threw up that ball that he floated out there, and it just didn't make any sense why he was even throwing that football. You're going to get that with Ewers. He's definitely a guy that likes to take risks. A lot of people, I think Jeff may have said it in the past. I don't know. I've seen it before, but they compared him to, Gardner Minshew. He was in the Big Ten at the time, is what they said. It's Big Ten Gardner Minshew. But no, he's going to be a fantastic quarterback. And it's exciting for Texas because I do think that they do have a shot at the Big 12 title. And I think that had Ewers not gone down in that Alabama game, we have a very different outlook on those two teams. Alabama potentially is a 2-loss team in that case, because I think that you look at what happened this last week, and I know we're going to talk about that shortly, but I think that changes the entire dynamic of what that outlook is. So it's exciting. I'm happy for Texas fans. It's been a long time coming, but I'm just excited to see what Ewers and Texas can do next year, because I think that's when this team is going to hit its ceiling.
Yeah, no, what's cool. Let's be the outlier here. Let's cool our britches here with Quinn. He's played 3 games in college football, and he got hurt in one of them, and then he didn't look very good against ULM. So I think he looked good against Oklahoma, but like we mentioned, Oklahoma's not Oklahoma. They made Adrian Martinez look good from Kansas State. That's a problem as well. So like he does look good, but they have that schedule. So here's the schedule coming up: Iowa State should be a W. You got to go out there and beat Iowa State. Then you got Oklahoma State, number 8. Then Kansas State, TCU, Kansas, and Baylor. So 4 out of the next 6 games are ranked opponents and really tough opponents. So if he's able to win out, then they're going to be right there for that big, Big 12 championship. But also you're going to see him elevate his game a little bit. I am surprised that Jeff has him QB1 over Caleb Williams. That's a hot take out here in these streets. I feel like there's some Ohio State bias there. But I would personally have Caleb right there. I mean, they're close. They're close. Just I like Caleb's athleticism a little bit more, and he's been able to prove it for 2 seasons. Where Ewers, he's been there 3 games.
Well, I mean, Caleb Williams is not exactly playing good football the last couple of weeks. We just saw Jordan Addison go out of the lineup. I mean, they struggled against Oregon State, and they didn't exactly run away in the red zone against Washington State. A lot of field goals in that game. So I'm just saying, we've seen enough. And coming in, he was the number 1 recruit. So let's not knee-jerk one direction and not say that we can't go back the other way. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I do want to toss out there. I don't think we've got USC. We'll talk about Caleb, but I think he played better than his line suggested this last week. His receivers were so. But yeah, I'm excited about them. I think that's the thing. We've got 2 great quarterbacks and potentially a third in big day as he develops in the ACC, which is different, obviously, but.
All right, let's jump over to let's do a little Heisman check. We're getting close here. Some guys here, so we're gonna go through the odds of Vegas Insider. Here's the odds for the Heisman right now. C.J. Stroud is a favorite at -140. Caleb Williams is at +1,000. Bryce Young +1,400. Hendon Hooker, look at him getting in there, +1,400. Dorian Thompson-Robinson from UCLA at +1,600. And then we got to throw in just a running back because that's just ridiculous. All those quarterbacks there. Blake Core, my guy, at +1,600. If you had the bet, Jeff, where are you going with this Heisman race? Is it CJ's to lose, or are these guys, is Hendon really it there? If they beat Alabama, do you think that they can get up there and get in the Heisman race?
It's CJ's to lose because I think his counting numbers are just going to be astronomical on the pace that he's on. He's played we're 6 games in, and he's got 24 touchdown passes. And so, at the end of the year, that number, if he's throwing 50 touchdown passes and Ohio State is undefeated, that's going to be hard to overcome. Now, Hooker has a Heisman moment coming up on Saturday, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. But if he goes out there against Alabama, knocks off Alabama in that third Saturday in October rivalry, and really positions Tennessee, regardless, really, as long as he kind of holds himself off in that Georgia game, I talked about it before that if Tennessee's sitting there at 11-1 with a close loss to Georgia and a win over Alabama, they probably are a college football playoff team. And in that scenario, if Hendon Hooker leads Tennessee to the college football playoffs, that puts him right there. Now, my concern, the thing to look at with him is the counting stats, because he's less than half the touchdown passes that CJ Stroud has. Yards, there's a good bit of separation between there. It could come down to the end of the year. I don't, and the media outlets are going to pull one direction or the other direction, depending on what media outlet you're talking about. But I do think that those are going to be the 2 guys. Now, Dorian Thompson-Robinson is really the wild card in this, I think, because now if you're betting, I think I like that long shot play because he's looked fantastic. And UCLA has a very winnable schedule coming up. They play Oregon in 2 weeks. They have a bye right now. They play that Oregon game. They win that Oregon game. That could position, depending on what USC does, as a rivalry weekend. Last weekend of the season, USC UCLA crosstown rivalry with Caleb Williams and Thompson Robinson. Now, if Thompson Robinson goes into that game and leads UCLA to a win, has a big numbers, that could really position him up there. And especially if they stay right in that hunt and are able to position themselves as a, college football playoff team potentially still. But Christian, where are you going?
Yeah, it's tough to go against the counting stats that CJ Stroud's going to put up. And you mentioned the Heisman moment. I think that the Heisman moment for CJ Stroud is going to be beating Michigan.
Okay.
Allegedly,
maybe beating it. Let's just not throw my
probably.
Michigan Wolverines under the bus. Like, what are we doing here?
I have a hot take about Michigan, but we're not to that portion of the show just yet. I'm sorry. But no, I think that would be his Heisman moment, because that gets Ohio State, back in the playoffs, and back as the dominant team that they are. I mean, if I had to take a poll right now between the three of us, do any of us think that Ohio State is not the best team in the country right now? Like, I know, I know, even though it pains you, Kevin, I know you have watched a lot of Ohio State, and I mean, they look fantastic in all facets. So I think you're looking at a national championship contender. The same can be said about Hendon Hooker. I think that's a good shout. And I really like the DTR bet, because I do think that UCLA has looked legit. I had questioned it before. I think they're leaning on Charbonnet a little bit, but DTR has really been good. And while he's probably not an NFL guy, I think that he is going to, go down as this fifth-year senior that has this astronomical season. And those, we think about Kenny Pickett last year, right? It's kind of similar in that sense. But yeah, I mean, it's Stroud's to lose. Sorry, Blake Corum, I guess. I don't know.
Hey, come on, Blake. Blake's having a good game. DTR is interesting. I like what you mentioned there with him. I think they want to give it to Hendon, though. Like, I feel like if they go to the SEC title game, Hendon's going to get it. So, like, if you're basing that bet, you're hoping that they can win, have some upsets, and go there. But this is CJ's Heisman. If he just wins out and does what he's doing right now, they've been phenomenal, and they've been down. They haven't even had their full offense yet, and that's the scary part. I think that's where I get it. And then obviously, their defense has been playing better. But if I was a betting person, I think Hendon would be a fun, hey, and I think it's CJ or Hendon. They're not going to give it to Bryce. Don't waste your money on Bryce right now. Like, I even think with the injury and everything, they're not going to give it to Bryce. Like, that's just not where they're going with that one. All right, let's talk about Matt Rule. So Matt Rule, our guy, he got fired finally to free everybody from the Panthers in terms of fantasy purposes. But people don't realize that Matt Rule is a very good college coach. He started at Temple. He built that program up in 2016. He went 10-3. He got the Baylor job after all that nonsense at Baylor that was going on, all of the scandal and everything that happened there. And he built that team from 1-11 to 11-3 in 2019 before he took Joe Brady over with Carolina. Obviously, his Carolina tenure didn't turn the way out. 11-27 didn't do that. But he has to be the front runner for college jobs right now. Probably. I think there's Lance Leopold from Kansas would be interesting. Like, which one would you rather have? Do we have a fit? So just in terms of like jobs out there right now for everybody that maybe not know, or you do, right? Arizona State, Colorado, Georgia Tech, Nebraska, Wisconsin, maybe. It's hard to put Wisconsin in there. But what do you think, Jeff? Where would he fit most, and what team should just go out there and try to get him?
Well, I hate to do it, and I hate to fire some people, but the two that I think that are really on the hot seat that would be nice fits for him, Boston College, if Jeff Hafley gets replaced. I think that, because Matt Rule is a New York guy, he was Temple's in Philadelphia there, that corridor, he's got those relationships, and being in Carolina, touching Texas a little bit, that would be an interesting spot for him, because I think that'd be a natural fit for him. And then Louisville, if Scott Satterfield is let go, that might be a good fit for him too, kind of playing in a little bit of the same things, being able to recruit those different areas. Of the open jobs, maybe it's Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech, there seems to be, certainly they're going to swing for Deion Sanders apparently. And then there's, I'm blanking on the Georgia high school football coach, that it really feels like that might be the great fit there. And I'm blanking on his name. And Kevin, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. And you're just going to leave me out there to flounder. But no, those are really, I think those ACC jobs that are that puts him back on that East Coast, that allows him to reach down to the South, that allows him to play into those New York ties, those Philadelphia ties that he's developed. That's where it makes sense to me.
Interesting. I don't know that he has a fit, because it's tough to say what kind of program builder he is now. I guess, he was, obviously we know what he was before. I think ultimately you look at a program like Arizona State and what that situation was, and the potential for they can really go out and we talked about it when they moved on from Herm Edwards. I think there's potential to go out there and win the Pac-12 as soon as USC and UCLA are out of there. I think that there's just all these teams should be excited about what they can do in the Pac-12. Might not be excited about what the Pac-12 is, but at least you can go win some conference championships. So I think that one's interesting. I don't think anyone's going to be super attracted to the Colorado position. And I don't think that Matt Rule is necessarily a fit there. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like he'll go back out west and kind of test those waters. But ultimately, I think you're right, Kevin. I think that he should be probably 1 or 2 on everyone's short list of coaches.
Do you think Arizona State would go back into the NFL pool again after Herm? Is my real question on that one.
Well, I think it's a little different with Rule because he had the college thing on the side. Like he's really a college coach, but maybe not. I think Arizona State would see what he did at Baylor after all the sanctions, because the sanctions are coming at Arizona State, and he'd be like, oh, maybe he'd be that perfect guy. The thing about Rule, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, like the way he's built his programs is he gets dudes that aren't good at football, just test the shit out of athleticism. So like he'll go get a 4'3", 6'4" guy and just say, okay, you're not good at football, but we're going to coach you. Because he actually has very good developmental coaches on his staffs. Like that's how he built Baylor up. He basically just recruited Texas by getting all the dudes at Texas A&M, didn't want Oklahoma because they weren't good enough to play football. And then he just coached them up. And so I think that's what makes Rule kind of interesting, because I think he can go anywhere. I did see someone say Auburn. That's not, I would very doubt that's going to happen, because Auburn needs to rebuild everything, but they don't have enough. They don't give their coaches enough time, and Rule's going to need some time. I really like Nebraska for him, but I just don't know if he can recruit the kids that get to Nebraska based on that. Where's that talent's at? Like he can go get those 3-4 star guys, but he's got to go into Texas, those places. Does Nebraska move that needle anymore? I think that's my biggest question. I don't know if the job out there for Rule is out there yet. I don't know if we've seen something pop up out there yet. It'd be interesting. I bet you LSU wishes they would have waited, because I would tell you what, LSU would be a perfect fit for him, because he could go recruit and get some guys. But I don't know. I think Nebraska would be a fun job. Arizona State, the sanctions, who knows? I'm never going to Colorado unless I'm going to retire. And in those other guys, like I'm just not in those things. But that's how Rule recruits. Like that's how he does it. So you gotta know that he's gonna fit based on what he thinks he could probably recruit and have like 3 or 4 years to build. All right, let's jump to the games from last week. We like to talk about the games on the show, going over, hey, the good, the bad, the ugly, and then we'll talk about Ohio State, of course, because Jeff will throw that in there. And so today, Alabama, Texas A&M. We've been waiting for this. We marked this on. Jimbo going after, all these guys over the summer, talking about recruits, paying players. We thought it was going to be a terrible game. We had Haynes King versus Jalen Milroe. Obviously, Bryce Young didn't play. Milroe looked he looked okay. 111 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air. He made a costly interception. Jameer Gibbs keeps tearing it up, though. 154 yards. He's on fire the last 2 games. Like he's looked like that running back 2-3 that everybody's kind of talking about in that class. Jermaine Burton had signs of life. Texas A&M should have won this game, boys, and they choked it away, and they had him right there at the end. Jimbo gets paid, I don't even know, his buyout $96 million to call a play where he just throws it up to Evan Stewart at the end. Like it's just awful. Jimbo, what is happening to you? Like I Texas A&M, man, 3-3 now, 1-2 in the conference, not great. Alabama's undefeated. What was your takeaways from this game, Jeff?
I can't help but wonder, like, had Michael Penix Jr. gone to Texas A&M, would they be 6-0 and maybe number 1 in the nation right now? I mean, it's that was such a big miss at quarterback, I think. And, I think Haynes King played admirably, and he was hurt at the end of the game. You could tell that he was just kind of gunning it out. It really comes down to that last play, and I don't know what was going on there, and that really kind of showcases that's really Jimbo Fisher in a microcosm, just one play there, because there was no creativity in that play call. There really very, very small chance of success. The throw was way outside. So it was just a frustrating way for a great game to end. And this is one of those that, I think everybody kind of expected Texas A&M to get rolled in this game because of the way they had been playing lately. And, it looked like Alabama maybe had some things clicking in a big win against Arkansas the week before. But it's just kind of starting to feel like one of those things where, who was it? The Ole Miss coach before Lane. There was an Ole Miss coach before Lane that just kind of seemed to have it figured out against Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze just kind of seemed to have Saban figured out a little bit. There was a little bit of a stretch there where Ole Miss knocked him off a couple years in a row. And it kind of feels like Jimbo has that a little bit on Saban, where he can bring this in, and maybe he doesn't have the best team, but he kind of knows how to play this team and how to prepare his team to be able to play against Alabama. And I think that that's really what you saw in Texas A&M in this game. But again, it's frustrating ending, probably because I just wanted to see Alabama lose. And I'm sorry there if you're an Alabama fan and you're listening to the show, but I'm not going to be unabashed about it. And, this is kind of where we're at. But it was a very, very exciting game. And I think that CBS, they were probably disappointed with the lead up coming in, because CBS gets one primetime game a year. This was their pick. This was their primetime SEC game, but it really delivered. And it was one of the games that has defined this season so far.
Yeah. I'm torn here, because I want to give Jimbo credit for having his team ready to play. I also think if Bryce Young plays, this game is a blowout, and it's exactly what we expected. And I also think that there's a little bit of disrespect there with Saban not playing Bryce. I think he said, it doesn't matter. We can win with this kid that's going to turn the ball over, even though we don't trust him. And clearly they didn't trust him, because they had a chance to ice out the game and chose not to. They chose to just run the ball because he had turned the ball over and pretty agreed. I mean, he had 2 fumbles and that one really, really bad interception. But overall, a lot of what he did was inspiring. I think like with some development, we talk about Anthony Richardson as that toolsy guy. I think Milroe is in that same tier of just an incredible athlete. Like, you watch him run and it's fantastic to watch. So I think that's a guy to keep an eye on moving forward. In terms of the A&M versus Alabama rivalry, is this going to get better? Because I think what A&M is always going to lack is that quarterback, unless they're able to get a surefire guy. It's crazy to me that we didn't get any Connor Wegman in this game. Haynes King played well, and it's tough to say that Wegman should have been in there, but man, like, that's your opportunity. Your season's over anyway, in my opinion. Like, you've already got 2 losses. Why not go see if your freshman is it? Because if he's not, then you're starting from scratch again, and then we're in the same boat every year, because quarterbacks matter, and Alabama always has quarterbacks. So I don't know. It was a really good game. That route on the last play, though, it was short of the end zone too. Like, what is that? I don't know if he ran the wrong route or because the throw was so far outside. I don't know. It's like he ran it about 3 yards too short, and even if he didn't, it was going to be a pick 6 probably. So just really tough.
I'm so glad neither of you guys brought up my boy Evan Stewart. Like, he or just in general, like, freshman Evan Stewart. Me and Christian talked about him in the offseason on our pod. We had him as our wide receiver 1 over Luther Burden, and people, like, I remember people saying, "What are you talking about?" He's great. He's a fantastic wide receiver. He's explosive. He's athletic. But please free him, because if he stays in this Texas A&M offense, I'm going to lose my mind, because they can get him the ball. But imagine what he was doing if he had a real quarterback. I mean, 8 catches, 106 yards. He was there. And I also want to say, like, Devin Achane, running back for Texas A&M, people really high on him. He only had 16 carries, 62 yards. But, like, why are you throwing the ball 46 times with Haynes King when it's 24-20, Jimbo? Like, move, get on the ground. Like, I just felt like the offense was one-dimensional. He wasn't doing what he needed to do there. You're throwing it too much. But Evan Stewart, that's a kid to watch. If you haven't seen him, if you're not familiar with him, go watch him, because he is absolutely fantastic. And I'm really excited to see him. Like, I think he's right up there with Luther. He's my wide receiver 1 for a reason. I think he's that talented.
Yeah, and he's a true freshman, obviously. Yeah. That last drive, they were just throwing it up to him. Like, that was the offense that it was. We're going to throw it up to Evan Stewart, or we're going to get a penalty on Alabama. That was the entire way that they marched down the field.
Yeah. He'll be at Alabama next year, though, so it's okay. He'll have a quarterback.
All right. That's all right. You go wherever you can with a quarterback. Please just go somewhere. Actually, you should transfer to Texas, Evan Stewart. That's what you should do. All right, next game, TCU versus Kansas. This is the game of the week. Everybody was calling it here, especially on the Football Guys Roundtable, and it didn't disappoint. 38-31, TCU beat Kansas. They looked very good. If you do to the show, I am the TCU homer on this show. I picked them to be in the Big 12 championship game and at the over. And they're 5-0 and 2-0 right here. Their offenses look great with Sonny. 18 carries, 88 yards, and a touchdown for our guy, Kendre Miller, me and Christian's guy. Jeff doesn't call out guys. But then, hey, Quentin Johnson came back. We have Quentin Johnson, 14 receptions, 206 yards, and a touchdown. Absolutely phenomenal. I think he had 17, 18 targets, right, Christian? Looked great. Like, the offense looked great. On the other side, Kansas Bobby was going to be there, but Jalen Daniels got hurt. And then Jason Bean came in and he was just willing stuff around that field. Like 4 touchdowns, interception, 262 yards. Devin Neal had a good game, 15 carries, 88 yards. I thought this was a fun game, but this is kind of how we all kind of picked this game with like, hey, TCU just going to have that 7 points. They're going to outlast them, probably that touchdown. Jeff, takeaway from this one?
It's hard. It was the second half was phenomenal in this game. It's hard to say, they lost Jalen Daniels and he's a big part of that team. I feel like Jason Bean played so well that I have a really hard time saying that had they had Jalen Daniels, they would have won the game, because I could see going the other way, because Bean played so well and he got those receivers involved down the field that really wasn't there in the first half. This could have been a scenario where TCU's offense finally clicked. Daniels wasn't able to go down the field the same way that Bean was able to and get those receivers in play, and TCU just runs away from him this game. I think that's a potential reality, just because that is how well Bean played. And so look, they're a different team with Bean at quarterback, because they've relied so heavily on that run game, and Daniels brings that element that if he's out for an extended period of time, and it's going back and forth. I saw one tweet said that he's done for the season, and then he replied to that and said, that's news to me. So I don't know how that's going to go, but this is one of those that, Kansas was in the verge of a magical season, and they really ran into a team that is firing on all cylinders. Kevin is exactly right. TCU is the team to look out for in the Big 12. They just have these playmakers, and they have finally involved Quentin Johnson. The scary thing is that they have done this, that they blew out Oklahoma without involving their best player. And then they finally just went into this game, and they said, you're the best guy on the field. We're going to get you the ball over and over again. Seeing that click in, I think, brings them up a level potentially from where they were, even on that big win against Oklahoma 2 weeks ago. And, we got a big game again for them coming up, but this is starting quickly to become a very battle-tested squad.
Yeah, I think this conversation just needs to center on Quentin Johnston, because I had even started to get really concerned about him. Yeah. Why wasn't he getting involved? Why weren't they actively trying to get him involved? And then he does something like this, and you're like, oh yeah, that's why he's a first-round wide receiver. Like, he's gonna probably be drafted in the first round. And games like this this probably cements him as at least a top of the second round guy. He is a special talent. I had kind of questioned his route running ability, and I still do. I think a lot of where he won was out of the slot and on drag routes and taking advantage of that yards after the catch ability. But we've seen receivers at the NFL level live off of that. And I think that that's where he's going to be used best at the next level. And if TCU is going to continue to make a run for this Big 12 title, I think that he's going to have this level of involvement. It's almost like they saved him for the game that mattered, and that doesn't make any sense to me. One other player I want to talk about, because I think he's going to start to get talked about a lot. Max Duggan looks fantastic still. His one interception was a go route with 20 seconds left. It was just kind of let's see if Quentin can go up and get it. He looked really, really good. I mean, his pocket awareness is really good. He knows when to scramble, but he had 308 passing yards, and then he added some on the ground as well. So just a really fun player to watch. And I think that, if he stays for another year, and I know he'll be a senior at that point, I think we're talking about a mid-round NFL guy, which is crazy to think about when we start thinking about what Max Duggan was heading into the season.
Duggan already said talent. It was just like he never could put it together. Right. I think he's putting it together. I think he found himself in a good offense now, right? This offense makes a lot of quarterbacks look really good. And they have a big game this week, Oklahoma State, though. Like, they have a gauntlet. Oklahoma, Kansas, then they have Oklahoma State, Kansas State. Like, these next two games, they got to get through. If they get through that, now we're talking about, hey, they could run the table, boys. Like, West Virginia, Texas Tech should be wins. Texas looms large, obviously. Then Baylor, Iowa State. Like, TCU's they're good, man. I liked them coming in. I thought their offense could click. I think if their defense just plays well enough, like it did last week, make a couple plays, had that interception, those type of things, then we're looking at it. But you're right about Johnson. He's the guy. Like seeing him, use him, like we've been looking for that, waiting for that all season, and now they finally did. So that's nice. Every once in a while, get your best player the ball. Like doesn't have to be that hard, right? All right. This is a game that unfortunately Jeff got right, and I should have went with it because damn it, Jeff. Like, okay, UCLA, Utah. UCLA at home, they're 6-0, or just overall 6-0. They won at home this game, 3-0 in conference. Kelly's got them playing very well. 42-32 over Utah, who many picked Utah was going to win out, right? Beat USC. They have a big game. Maybe it's a look-ahead game. I don't know. But DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, like we mentioned, 4 touchdowns in the air, touchdown on the ground. He looked very good. Zach Charbonnet had almost 200 yards rushing against his Utah defense that many people were touting, had a touchdown. Charbonnet's a guy that we got to start talking about. Like, hey, this kid looks really, really strong, really good. On the flip end, Rising didn't have a good game. Cameron Rising. Tavion Thomas had a touchdown. But like we mentioned on the show, Tavion Thomas, we're not sure how old he is, 27, 28, I don't know. And then Dalton Kincaid, 4 catches, 67 yards. This is Jeff's team. Jeff's team of destiny right here, UCLA. He's been picking UCLA all year. What did you said weird things happen at home for UCLA, and this offense is clicking. I think leadership. We talk about, I don't know why I talk myself out of it, damn it. Like quarterbacks, we say it all the time. College quarterbacks matter, DTR matters, and that leadership ability, 5 years. We've seen that.
Yeah, and this really is an offense and a team that translate that they're not going to go away as the weather gets bad. They can run the football on anybody, and especially anybody on their schedule. And this sets up, Utah is that team that could go toe to toe to them physically. It's going to be really interesting to see in 2 weeks when they play Oregon, because I almost think Oregon's got a better chance to knock them off than USC even does, because I think this team sets up very well to play against USC. Their defense, I don't know if they really got the guys on their defense, but they've been playing very opportunistic, creating turnovers. They did the same thing in this game. They created turnovers throughout the game, and that was really swung it. But the ability to run the ball on anybody, and as long as they have Zach Charbonnet and Thompson-Robinson in the backfield, they are going to be able to do that. And as the weather turns in some of these games in the Pac-12, they're going to be able to run the football on week to week. And so that's, I think, the biggest thing that you look for in college football. And some of these, these high flying offenses, it feels like you might get that game where that quarterback's just off. And then, the entire team's built around that. Things fall apart, things go sideways. That's how upsets happen. This is a team that is built to withstand those types of games.
Sure is. Yeah. And it's interesting that Chip Kelly is going to get to play Oregon, and that's going to be kind of the test of the season, I think, because I think you're right. I think this team is set up to really beat USC. I think UCLA was a hot pick last year because they came out swinging, and I think that they kind of fell off down the stretch. And I think a lot of that can be attributed to Dorian Thompson-Robinson and not having another year in that offense. Well, now he has that year, and he is playing like a Heisman front runner, maybe not front runner necessarily, but he's in the conversation, and that's not something we expected headed into this year. I think it's worth it to toss Zach Charbonnet in Heisman discussions as well. The kid has been tearing up. I think that's another dynasty back that we're going to be talking about next year. But yeah, this UCLA team is a lot of fun. I'm a little bummed about Utah. I thought Utah was going to be a lot better than they are. And ultimately, I think that they've been out coached, but really they've been out trench played. They've been bullied in the trenches throughout the year. And that was something that they had previously done really well. So unfortunate season for Utah. And are they ranked this week? They are still ranked.
They're still ranked.
Yeah, that's got to stop. We've got to stop doing that. But yeah, I think Rising never took that step that we thought. Tavion Thomas has been okay, and they never really had dynamic weapons. When they lost Brant Keithy, I think that mattered, though. I think maybe this game is a little different with Brant Keithy on the field.
Yeah, that's exactly the point there. They lost their leading receiver, the tight end, Brant Keithy, and that was really kind of Rising's safety blanket. And, this was a team that they got hot last year. At the end of last year, this team looked like they were, at this point of the season, Utah looked like they were going nowhere. And so, maybe that's still there, that they're able to knock that into gear and get rolling. But it's going to be too little too late, probably, in this scenario now.
They're going to be USC. Watch, that's what's going to happen. That's going to happen, and the Pac-12 is just going to, consume themselves. I think it could come down to Oregon, UCLA, like you talked about, and our guy Bo Nix, friend of the show. Everybody out there, you should know Bo Nix loves this show. All right, let's look ahead. Let's go to the next slate of games, like games that we're really looking forward to. This weekend's super fun. Like I am so excited. My wife's taking the kids away, and I get to watch football all day, and I get not feel like sad about my life. So like, let's go into this one now. I might feel sad though because 9 a.m. is an early game, and it's Michigan versus Penn State, and I'm a Wolverine fan, and I'm super worried about this game. So I'm gonna be honest with you. I am very worried about this game for some reason. -7 Michigan is the favorites, which I think is way too high. We'll talk about that. But to come into this game, Penn State's 5-0, Michigan 6-0. Really, they really haven't played anybody. Neither one of these teams. I guess Penn State played Auburn, but Auburn's not good. So this game's interesting. So before I dive into my take, I heard Christian. He said he had a hot take. Christian, what is your take here? Are you gonna hurt me?
Yeah, I think Michigan's losing this weekend. I just think a lot of things have set up. Michigan's defense has underperformed.
I'm clipping that, by the way. I'm going to clip that and put it on our socials just for you. Like, why when they win? When Michigan wins, I'm putting that out.
That's okay. That happens all the time. But I just think that Michigan's defense has not played very well this year, despite not really playing any. We look back to the Maryland game and why we were nervous, and then last week. Obviously, the thing that happened with Mike Hart on the sideline obviously impacted how they were playing on the field. And I think that that's something to consider. And maybe they go out there extra motivated this week, kind of moving off of that. I think Mike Hart's rejoining the team this week. For those that don't know, Mike Hart did collapse on the sideline. He was hospitalized, but I think he was released and he's rejoining the team, which is great news. But ultimately, I think Penn State's got the recipe to win this game. And with everyone, I think everyone's going to be on Michigan, and I think this is kind of like one of those setup games where Michigan's kind of they kind of go into a lull in their schedule here, and it's really just waiting for Ohio State, right? That's what every year is, but this year especially, I think that Penn State has an opportunity despite having Sean Clifford at quarterback, and that's why it's so scary to say things like this, because Sean Clifford is going to find a way to lose this game somehow. But
yeah, you can apply every single cliche to a Big Ten game. I think in this one, last year, really Penn State should have beat Michigan last year. Penn State took the lead late in that game, and then Eric All had a big touchdown that put Michigan back in front. So Penn State played them very, very well. And that was a Michigan team that obviously we saw win the Big Ten, go into the college football playoffs. So I think toe-to-toe, they're able to stand toe-to-toe with them. The big question is going to be, can Penn State run the ball on them? And Nick Singleton, the running back, is certainly talented enough to be able to do that. Penn State's really struggled to run the football the last couple years, and they had a great performance against Auburn, and they really kind of clicked into gear there, but that hasn't been there. Now they have the weapons on the outside with Lambert Smith, and they've got Parker Washington obviously as well. So they've got experience at the receiver. So they've got enough there, but I kind of really expect we are getting a 16-13 type game. Maybe something weird, defensive touchdown, something like that swings the game. That's really how this game's feeling coming in.
When I'm looking at just game script, what's going to happen here? Penn State only gives up 79 yards on the ground. They have a very good rush defense, where Blake Corum has rushed now for 735 yards and 11 touchdowns this year. So that's a battle. Like, that's going to be two behemoths: Michigan's offensive line and Penn State's defensive line. Like, that is going to be a fun battle to watch, and I think that's going to dictate the game. But Penn State does have a weakness. They give up over 260 yards passing. So if JJ McCarthy, if Harbaugh lets him free, Harbaugh, listen to me. I know you listen to the show. Let him ride it out. Like, you got to open that thing up a little bit. If Michigan plays conservative, Christian's right. They're going to lose. If they let JJ roll it out and just have some fun with it and see, hey, what can this kid do, and throw it, I think we're going to win. And then if we make mistakes, fine, whatever, it's going to happen. They have to open this offense up. This offense is not good enough right now. Like, it's just not. They're not opening up. Harbaugh, his conservative ass drives me crazy, boys. You know this. Like, he is so conservative every play. They played a punt. They do these things. And I'm scared that what's going to happen is Clifford's going to get, like, God forbid, hurt, or they're just going to take him. Something's going to happen. And then Drew Aller's going to come in there and just wipe us off the face of the planet, because Drew Aller is really talented. So Clifford, stay healthy, please. Now I say that, watch, you got to throw 4 touchdowns. But I think when you're looking at it, it comes down to that our rushing offense versus their rush defense, and will they open up the offense? And I think Christian's going to say, no, they're not going to open the offense. And I know. I think Harbaugh, he struggles in these games where he tries to be very too conservative. But the Franklin's on the other side, and Franklin's not, he's not the best in-game coach ever. So like this game is going to have some blunders, I think.
Yeah, really quickly, just for new listeners of the show, Kevin is a Michigan fan, Jeff is an Ohio State fan, and I am the neutral party. I have adopted North Carolina, so that I feel like that's important context as we just got into the Michigan and Ohio State discussions, and that's the background there. But yeah, I think you're right. I don't think Harbaugh has the guts to do it. And that's why I think Penn State has a shot here. But again, can Sean Clifford not turn the ball over? I think that is the X factor in this game.
We gotta get pressure. We gotta get pressure on him. I say we because I'm part of the team, listeners. All right, let's dive to the game that we want to know. Talk about Alabama versus Tennessee. I will be hate watching this game or watching for a lot of fun after the winner loss from Michigan. Alabama comes in, man. This is a fun game at Neyland Stadium, 12:30. You know the fans are gonna be rocking. You know the college fans probably already drinking on a Tuesday, getting ready for that game. 7.5 is the spread, which I think the 7.5 line for me dictates Bryce Young's playing. Like Vegas would not have that at 7.5 if they didn't think Bryce Young was not going to play. It'd be like a 3 or something weird, that weird zone there, 3 to 4. So I think Bryce is going to come in. You have Hendon Hooker on the other side, 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns, looks very good. Jahmyr Gibbs has come in. He's bounced back. This game is fun. This is going to be fun, boy. This offense, this is going to look great. I mean, but both of their yards allowed, though. Tennessee is giving up 396 yards total. That's a lot of yards. So I think if Bryce is here, there's going to be a shootout. Over under on this game is 65. Christian, what are you looking for in this game? What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm just full of hot takes. I don't know, but I think Tennessee has a really, really good shot to win this game. We talk about how Alabama should have lost to Texas. We talked about that earlier. I think that Tennessee's a better team than Texas, and I think that Tennessee also has a fast defense that can take away some of these Alabama receivers that have underperformed. I think the difference here is Jahmyr Gibbs has taken that step forward since that Texas game as a runner, because I think in that Texas game, Jahmyr Gibbs was incredibly impactful through the passing game. Alabama's going to need him to do that, but they're also going to need at least 70 rushing yards from him in this game. And I know Tennessee's given up points, but this is a game that everyone gets up for. And this is a game that, we see that over under and we think, oh, they're just going to score. I kind of feel like there will be a little bit of a defensive battle here to start this game as people kind of work through the nerves. Bryce Young being back matters because the offense hums. And on the other side of it, I think Cedric Tillman, I think, is ready to come back. I think they've been holding him back for this game. So then Hendon Hooker has his favorite weapon back as well. They've got Brew McCoy, and ultimately, I think you put Brew and Cedric Tillman on the field, and Alabama's corners are going to struggle against that. So it's going to be a really, really fun game to watch, but I think Tennessee has a very good shot to at least cover in this game.
So if Alabama plays their best game, I don't think Tennessee can hang with them. The problem is we have not seen at any point this year Alabama play their best game. There has been games this year, the Texas A&M game, the Texas game, that if that Alabama team walks into Neyland Stadium and Tennessee hits on all cylinders like they're capable of, Tennessee could run them out of the stadium, which is wild to say with Alabama because that is the scenario that's potentially in play. Now, I have major questions on Jahmyr Gibbs because it kind of have seemed like Jalen Milroe unlocked him a little bit. And so Bryce Young is coming back in and Bryce Young's not running the ball. Jahmyr Gibbs was very, very quiet through the first part of the year. And yes, he's had multiple big runs the last 2 weeks, but those really happened after Milroe came in. We've talked about the athleticism of Milroe already, that he's that type of player that is going to dictate the defense is doing different things. And so a lot of that stuff has been off the RPO action where, Milroe's kind of swinging one way and then Gibbs breaks out the backside, takes it to the house. And he's done that. He's had, I think, 3 runs that have close to 70 yards or something like that over the last 2 weeks. It's been massive chunks. He's capable of doing that. Certainly he can do that against Tennessee. Tennessee's run defense has been very, very good this year. They're number 7 they're only giving up 2.79 yards per carry. So that is the thing. If their run defense clicks, Bryce Young comes back, we have seen Alabama's receivers struggle so far this year, and they've been able to make some plays. Isaiah Bond, I think, has looked really good. Jermaine Burton's been a disappointment from where the expectation was coming into this year. We know there are some concerns with Alabama's receivers. We know that maybe Gibbs, without Milroe there unlocking it, he might struggle. But at the same time, the ceiling of Alabama is just a different level than the ceiling of Tennessee.
I agree. This game's gonna be weird. Like, I think this game, when you're looking at it, just in terms of like, I think this is the best quarterback that Alabama's played. We can agree on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it is like,
but yeah,
half of Ewers, and that's it, right? When you're looking at the schedule they have, like, this is the best offense they've probably played too. It's got Will Anderson. Hey, what Will Anderson against Texas A&M? He had 8 hurries out of 14 for the whole team. Like, you're looking at that, and you're there. Braswell has been good. Dallas Turner. Like, hey, this is good. This is going to be a knockout. But if their offense struggles, yes, Tennessee could win this game, in my opinion. I think that's where it's going. All right, let's talk about one quick last preview. USC playing Utah, the Utah Utes. This game would have been a lot better if Utah didn't lose to UCLA, but it's still there. USC 6-0, but everybody says a soft 6-0. They don't know what they are yet, and they've been really struggling. They've winning games, though. Hey, you are what your record says you are, right? And they're 6-0 and 4-0, and they're 7th in country. Utah, on the other hand, coming off a bad loss. You have Caleb Williams, who many of us really like, unless your name is Jeff Bell. And then you got Joe Madison, 32 catches, 479 yards, 6 touchdowns on there. What are we doing here with this game, Christian?
I think we're just taking USC and hoping that everything clicks on offense, because I think, Jeff mentioned if Alabama plays their best game, Tennessee can't hang. If USC plays their best game, there is no chance that Utah can hang. And I think we have seen glimpses of USC's best game. I think the Stanford game really showed what this passing offense can be. And I think they've kind of found something in Travis Dye. Now, I know Travis Dye has been in college football for 27 years, but he really started to run the ball when they needed him to this last week. So I think that they're going to lean on that. Raleek Brown provides a little bit more juice back there, but I think Caleb Williams is still out there making plays, and his rushing ability is something that, I think Utah accounted for DTR. But I think that if USC plays their best game on offense, this isn't a game.
Clark Phillips against Jordan Addison is the game in this one. And I think that might be the best, one-on-one NFL draft matchup that you can get this weekend. And Clark Phillips, the Utah cornerback, against Jordan Addison, USC wide receiver.
Yeah. It's pretty simple. Offense, can USC's offense make up for some of that defensive lack, and can it go? So yeah, you're right. All right, let's dive into it. So what we do on the show, if you're not aware, we play games. So what we like to do last 15 minutes, we play games. We pick games. So one thing that we do is we're going to be picking games. We're going to be doing a little bit of over unders, especially for some prop bets. But at the same time, we actually play games on the screen. If you're watching, if you listen to audio, we'll go through it. But if you're watching, we play games and we do a little bit of poker and everything else, and then we do a little bit of sportsbook rundown. So why don't we jump into the games? Christian, why don't you get us started?
Sure. So the Sportsbook Rundown is where we pick these games and we keep a tally each week. So we have a leaderboard already. We're halfway through the college football season. Last week, Jeff is on an incredible run of picking games. Over his last 2 weeks, he's 15-0-2. Kevin this last week was 3-3-2, and I was 3-3-2. So Jeff won last week. The way we play games too is we get chips. So whoever wins each game, we get a chip. And then at the end of the game, all of the games, we have a show winner. So we have a little bit of fun, but we're also able to kind of analyze these games. And so we are going to pick 9 games this week. The first one that we're going to pick is Minnesota at Illinois. Illinois is 6.5-point home favorites. I don't know if they can score 6.5 points. Kevin, who are you taking in this game?
Minnesota's our team, boys. This is the team that we picked. That we said that in the Big Ten West. I'm gonna go Illinois. I think Illinois is gonna win this game. Just based on that rushing attack. I know they look bad. Iowa's defense is really good. Minnesota, if Ibrahim comes back, I think we have saying something. But this is gonna be a fun game. I'm gonna go Illinois.
Okay.
Now,
Jeff.
Yeah, we all picked Minnesota on the preseason show, but Illinois was my flag plant team that people were sleeping on, and they have that feeling of a team of destiny, and 6.5 scares me a little bit, but it's not 7. And so that's why I'm going to go with Illinois, because they don't have that hook on there, and they can win by a touchdown, and they win this game.
All right, I'll take Minnesota because you guys are frauds and you're backing down off the team of destiny. We all picked Wake Forest last year as the team of destiny and the show's team, and I'm gonna stick with Minnesota this week. I think even if they lose, I think they cover in this game.
Illinois was my dark horse team, so
I
let's
know.
not.
I know.
You can just make fun of me. That's fine. I'm definitely screwing that up.
That's okay. We're just messing around here. Penn State at Michigan is the next game we're taking. As we mentioned earlier, Michigan is 7-point home favorites in this game. Jeff, where are you going in this game?
I'm going to take Michigan. And I know that, you guys might be going the other direction. At home game, I think Michigan, I just don't believe in this I think Penn State, I don't think they're real. And I think they're going to get exposed this weekend.
Interesting. I think I talked about my dream where Penn State made the college football playoff. So I'm riding out the dream, So I'm going to take Penn State in this game. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win this game. Kevin?
This is how we do these games. We just have fun and we tell you about our dreams and tell you how it happens. Of course, I'm going. I got to go Michigan. I always do my Michigan Wolverines. Like, I'm a fan, true and true, but I don't bet money on. So everybody out there listening, if this is the first time, don't bet money on my picks for Michigan. Like, don't take them.
Yeah, that's fair. Next game, Alabama 7.5-point road favorites going to Tennessee. We just broke this game down, and I am going to go first. I already gave my take on this. I'm taking the underdog here too. I think Tennessee. It hangs around, even if Bryce Young plays. I think that Tennessee is at least able to cover in this game. I think they win outright, though. Jeff, where are you going?
Stole all my thunder because I wanted to go Tennessee outright, but I'm going to take Tennessee with the hook, 7.5 on that game. So give me the hook on that one. I'll take Tennessee.
Kevin,
give me the Tide. I'm going to take the Tide in the favorites. Go a little different than you guys.
All right, next game, Oklahoma State at TCU. TCU is 4-point favorites in this game. Kevin, where are you going on this one?
Oh, come on. TCU, baby. We're riding this TCU train till the end.
Okay, Jeff?
Yeah, TCU in this one. Oklahoma State, it feels like they've been holding it together with a little bit of stick bubble gum over the last couple of weeks, and it just feels like TCU is peaking at this moment right now.
I need to stop taking underdogs, and so I'm going to take TCU.
You just jinxed them. You just jinxed my team, a destiny. You just jinxed them.
I'm sorry. There's a piece of me that thinks Oklahoma State's defense gives them trouble, but TCU's offense has been too dynamic, so I'm going to stick with TCU. Next one, NC State at Syracuse. Syracuse is 3.5-point favorites in this game, which heading into the season, that line would look ridiculous. Jeff, where are you going with this one?
I'm going to go NC State. NC State's kind of had a little bit more battle tested, whereas Syracuse, they had a close game against Purdue. This just feels like Syracuse is a very, very fun story, but NC State with Devin Leary at quarterback, and give me the 3.5, and I'll take NC State.
Yeah. The one piece, so Devin Leary left that game last week hurt, and if he doesn't play, I would love to change my pick. It's kind of looking like he might not, but I'm going to go with NC State anyway, because I think that good football teams are able to win. I think NC State can win this game. Kevin?
I cannot believe I'm going to pick a Dino Babers team, but I'm going to pick Syracuse. I'm all aboard the Syracuse train right now. I just think NC State without Leary, if he's banged up in there, they should win. They just haven't looked good, and I'm going to go Syracuse.
That's fair. All right. Next one, Mississippi State, 7-point road favorites at Kentucky. Will Levis is supposedly back this week in this game, and so I'm going to take Kentucky. Mississippi State has looked good, though. Jeff, where are you going with this one?
Give me Mississippi State in this one. I think they're rolling a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to take Mississippi State, too. I think they have a very good offense, and I think their defense can stand up to it, and Levis is overrated.
Yeah. Shout out Will Rogers, too.
Yes, he's playing well.
Yeah, he is. All right, next one, Nebraska at Purdue. Purdue is 14-point favorites in this game. Kevin, where are you going?
This is a big line for Purdue, man. Like, it is I'm going Nebraska. I'm going to Cornhuskers.
Jeff?
I'm on Nebraska too, and this is, the winner of this game is going to be right there with the winner of Illinois, Minnesota for the lead of the Big Ten West.
That's crazy. I just want Nebraska to make the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I really don't. That would be such a terrible game. I'm taking Nebraska, though. In this game, I think they cover. Next one, Clemson, 3.5-point favorites at Florida State. Jeff, where are you going in this one?
Clemson.
You really thought about that.
He hates Clemson so much. He wanted to take Florida State, but he can't do it because his record means so much to him. I'm going to go. It's Christian's turn, Robert.
I'm taking Clemson. Go ahead.
Clemson, yeah.
Yeah, we probably just jinxed them. Florida State has played well at times this year. USC at Utah is the last game we're picking. Utah is 3.5-point favorites. Kevin, where are you going with that one?
I'm going to go USC. I think just the offense.
Jeff?
I'm going to take Utah, 3.5. I can't believe they're the favorites, but I'm going to take them.
I'm going to take USC. I think this is the game that Caleb Williams puts it all together. And that will do it for the Sportsbook Rundown.
All right, let's jump over to prospect poker. So the rules of the game are simple on this one, everybody out there listening. We're going to play poker on the screen, and while we do, we're going to talk to you about some over props that we like and some under props that we like. And so just to kind of get into hey, if you like Prize Picks, you like any kind of sports betting, anything like that, you can find us on there, and then you can find these and win some money. So on the season, Jeff's 5-7, I'm 5-8, Christian 6-5-1. So obviously you listen to Christian more than us. But I don't know about the counting there. I'm going to check it next time. I feel like Jeff's. I don't know if Jeff's doing well on this. I'm pretty sure I went 2-0 last week, but we'll find out later after the show. Christian, give us your over. Who you got?
I'm going to take Quinn Ewers over 245.5 passing yards. He hasn't hit it a whole lot, and Texas hasn't needed him to, but I think that, he's going to build off of this last game against Oklahoma.
All right, so we're starting out here with a 7 of clubs, a 7 of hearts, and an 8 of diamonds. And Christian is going to throw up a 4 of clubs. My choice is going to be Brevin Spanford, the tight end from Minnesota. Illinois has 2 very, very good corners, but Minnesota's kind of been relying on that tight end. The over-under is 37.5 receiving yards, and so I'll go over that number. He's hit it the last 3 games. I've got a king of diamonds.
All right, I'm going to go J.J. McCarthy, obviously Michigan quarterback. I am basically basing this on that they're going to have to throw a little bit more against Penn State, and they're going to have to go a little bit higher. So 217.5 yards over on that, because I do think that they're going to have to throw more, and I think the game script's going to turn out that way.
A jack of spades.
All right. My under this week is DJ Uiagalelei under 50.5 rushing yards. I do think that Florida State's defense will prevent him from doing that, even though Clemson has been very intentional about getting him going on the ground. I think that they're going to have to use his arm to win in this game.
A 3 of diamonds. My choice is Hunter Deckers from Iowa State under 240.5 passing yards against Texas. We saw Texas shut out Oklahoma last week. Now, that was a very, very weird situation. Oklahoma was down their starting quarterback, but Deckers is a little bit streaky, and I think that Texas has some things figured out on defense right now. So 5 of diamonds.
All right. So I'm going to go Drake May. So Drake May, quarterback from North Carolina. Obviously that's Christian's team. When you're looking for it, you know what? His over under right now is kind of an interesting one. It's under 40.5 rushing yards. I'm going to take the under here just because of just game script with how I think North Carolina is going to play in that game. He's hit the over a couple times, but on the season, it looks like he's kind of going back and forth. I think that they're going to throw a little bit more, lean on their other rushing attack. So under 40.5.
A 10 of spades. So that means I've won this game. That means I won the show. So, all right. So the last game that we play blackjack. The way we play blackjack is we play it with trivia. We ask a question. You get it right, you get a beneficial outcome. You get it wrong, you get a non-beneficial outcome, a bad outcome. So Christian is going to lead us off, and Christian has an 11. So that's a very good start for Christian. Kevin has a 15, and I have an 8. So I have a trivia question for Kevin. Kevin, when is the last time Tennessee beat Alabama?
That was one of my questions.
When's the last time Tennessee beat Alabama? 2003?
It's close. 2007 was the last time they did. Yeah, that's a hard question, but throw it out there.
It's cool. It's cool. I just busted.
You busted.
Thanks.
So you were going bust anyway. So.
All right, I have a question for Jeff to lead it off because I'm sure we're going to need more than one question here. Who is leading Michigan in receiving yards currently, Jeff?
Donovan Edwards.
No. Kevin, do you have a guess? It is Ronnie Bell.
Ronnie Bell, yeah.
All
right. So I didn't bust. So I need another question.
Jeff, I have a question for you. How many rushing yards did Israel Abikanda from Pittsburgh have last game?
320.
Yeah, 320 on the dot.
Yeah, I wrote about him in my article this week on Football Guys, so that's where that came from. I busted anyway, so Christian wins this one. So that means I'm still the winner of the show. So
you are. So you get your FaceTime.
Thank you so much for watching the show and for tuning in. And we look forward to being here every week for you. We're going to dive in. We're going to do college football during the season. We're going to do draft after the season. And then we're going to do get you ready after the draft for the next college football season. And we're going to be your stop here for Football Guys and talking about college football. So please reach out, interact with us on Twitter, whatever it might be. And we're certainly happy to talk about whatever topics you might have. But thank you so much for listening to this first episode.
Yeah, we can't thank you guys enough. We're looking forward to bringing you a little college football, a little fun, little money, and little shenanigans. That's what our show is about. So we'll be back next week, October 19th at 3 p.m. Eastern time here on the channel. Until then, I'm Kevin Coleman at DuBois_22.
I'm Jeff Bell at For Whom J Bell Tolls.
And I am Christian Williams at C Williams NFL, and this is the Football Guys College Football Show.